What's up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horn, and this is Pro Wrestling, the podcast celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest sport of all time, professional wrestling. And as always, I am joined by Hey, it's Will.Daily and his new glasses. Hey, it's Will.
That's not true. It's hey, it's Will. It's Will from online or something like that. Will from the internet.
Oh yeah,
Listen, I made some social media shifts this week. I don't want to alarm anybody, but I made dedicated accounts for all my business stuff, SEO, marketing, and now my personal accounts can go back to being all about pro wrestling and political opinions. Just kidding. Just pro wrestling.
Well, just not just kidding, because he has a shadow account called Disco Fuzz.
Shadow.
You did not tell me about for a good reason.
Well, I followed you on it against my better judgment, and then you followed me back, and I said, "Oh well, I guess hopefully."
I followed you back in the interest of our president's call for national unity.
You mean our former president?
No, our current.
No. Joe Biden did it. He called for.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that does sound more on brand for our current president. Yeah, unity.
Really.
Tell him.
Here we go.
Let's see.
Good in those glasses. You look good in them glasses, bro.
I look good in any glasses, man.
Okay. I feel you.
Not lacking confidence either. So we do like that.
Who else we got with us?
Oh man, up in the chat room, I'm already seeing like Woodland Goblin, Ryan Romano's out there. We got Roxas79. We got Jedi Warrior, Dave Scooby's in the house. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We're just talking about wrestling news. We're starting late, so it's a wonder that Brian Rosa's not here because he would have figured. But
Wednesday night, they got Dog Pound Dojo tonight, man.
Oh, you're right, dude. They got Dog Pound Dojo. Well, we're glad to see everybody that is here. We got plenty of news to talk about. We got previews for AEW Dynamite tonight. We got previews for NXT. We got plenty of wrestling news that we could go through. Will hates it when you say wrestling.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't realize that. You're already talking about it in the chat. I can see plenty of stuff there, but let's go ahead and jump in right here to first. We'll talk about MLW because that's coming up in like 20 minutes. So if you're going to ditch us for that at 7 p.m., first of all, screw you. But no, not really. We're happy to see. Rob, did you just pull up ranch dressing for no good reason? You just
don't let us bother you, brother.
Oh man, hey, I'm having to multitask, man. I just walked in the door literally like 10 minutes ago, man.
Busy man. He's a busy man.
He is. We moved it back to 6:30, which means we got to start at about 6:40. So this is great.
Right.
All right. Well, if you're wondering, coming up at 7 p.m. is MLW, and let's see here. They've got tonight Jacob Fatu versus ACH for the MLW World Championship. That's happening tonight. Also, Simon Gotch for
What did you just say, Will? I mean, Gary, what did you just say?
I just said Jacob Fatu for the versus ACH for the MLW World Championship.
There it is. There it
Triggered.
is. You better watch your mouth.
He's just looking for a fight tonight, man.
Oh, man. All right. Well, sorry.
Eat your ranch dressing.
It's not a world championship.
Okay. So Jacob Fatu and ACH are fighting for a championship on MLW.
Some form of probably a giant championship belt, but yeah.
Yeah,
huge.
And Simon Gotch is taking on Jordan Oliver in a grudge match. New Contra member Sean Daivari is debuting, taking on Zinshi. And Tom Lawler will address the Team Filthy attacks on ACH. I was reading through the Observer, and according to Meltzer, which we all know and love, Meltzer says MLW is going with the idea of launching a second weekly show, which right now would be called MLW Rebellion. They're talking with both English and Spanish language stations and streaming services. LA Park and El Hijo de LA Park beat Ross and Marshall Von Erich to win the tag team titles. If you guys missed that last Wednesday, I don't know why I just said that. He put that randomly in the middle of this conversation. And then he said they're building on the idea of a combination MLW/Lucha Underground major show, even though Lucha Underground doesn't exist. the idea is that Selena De La Renta's Promociones Dorado is being financially backed by Azteca Underground Inc. So if you've been watching the show, somebody announced that her company had been purchased, but they didn't know by who. Supposedly, this is the idea they're rolling with right now. Azteca Underground, which has purchased controlling interests. Some Lucha Underground characters will be used as part of De La Renta's stable, with the first being Mil Muertes, who debuted and squashed Brian Pillman Jr. this past week. And Brian Pillman's probably leaving since he's doing a lot of stuff with AEW. Most of the other talent that you see pushed on AEW, or MLW, according to Meltzer, has signed new 3 to 5 year deals. Every single one of them. Alex Hammerstone and Richard Holiday had an opening for Pro Wrestling Noah, but they're not going to be able to go due to the pandemic. This is all like extra MLW news, I guess, little news points that Dave Meltzer's throwing in there. He also said Leo Rush has moved to LA to work on a rap career. And, he's also the middleweight champion, but he beat Myron Reed for it, who is also working on an LP with Leo Rush right now. And they're also
Rap
working
battles,
with Wale,
man.
apparently.
Yep. It's featuring Lil Wayne, I think.
It might be.
Freshly pardoned Lil Wayne.
Speaking of Leo Rush, if you happen to be a huge Leo Rush fan, he's also making his debut on January 29th on New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. So there he is. NJPW Strong. He's going to be teaming with Fred Rosser and who is it? Oh, TJP. Sorry, I had to look at the picture. And they're taking on Kenta, El Fantasmo, and Hikuleo. So there you go. That's coming up on the 29th. So there's your MLW update, courtesy of your friends at This Is Professional Wrestling.
This is professional. This is professional wrestling.
That's like what the champ says.
I'm off my game, y'all.
That's like what the champ says to us when he's mad at us. Like Robert Daniel Stinson. Look, this is professional wrestling.
Oh boy,
quit leaking those stories.
What's next, Gary?
Well, what is next? That's good. That's a good question. You know what I didn't get to do that I always like to do? I'm glad you asked what's next, Will, because I got plenty more news where that came from. Maybe that's why I was off my game. Maybe that's why I felt weird. Rob, did you get a chance to check out Hard to Kill?
Nah, man. I hadn't got a chance to look at it, but I read articles about it. I know what happened, but I haven't got to actually sit down and watch it. I also got to listen to a really exceptional report on Raw that you can find on our channel.
Oh, yeah.
This is professional wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah, if you guys aren't aware, you can listen to The Fast Count with Gary Horde. And I run through Raw. I did it in like 12 minutes this time. And trust me, if you haven't seen Raw, that is the best way to consume it. So that is, I had it on while I worked. And that's all I can say for that show.
I can't wait till it's like 3.5 minutes. Like you keep just condensing it until eventually you're just like,
nothing happened.
Drew McIntyre was there. The Fast Count.
Well, Rob, you might be happy. I mean, Randy Orton had his face burned off, and so now he's wearing a mask that looks like Dick Byers the Destroyer. I said that. That was a shout out to you, really, that I even mentioned that. And so he's there. Alexa Bliss turned into the Fiend. Can I make a request from WWE? I know you're listening, WWE. Can we work on outlawing magic in matches? I don't think that that's legal, and it's not a steel chair, but it appears to be working. And Alexa Bliss defeated the women's champion, Asuka, by turning into, we think, Sister Abigail and just becoming unstoppable. And so that's just too bad for Asuka. But now Alexa Bliss has entered the Royal Rumble for the women because she beat the champion, but now she has to enter the Rumble to get a shot at the champion. It is what it sounds like. And I'm happy that wrestling exists. Let's move on. Let's jump over to Impact Wrestling, where I was originally going to go for before I got off my groove there. If you haven't heard the news with a follow-up on Impact, we have confirmed, and then as of Hard to Kill, we've got 2 losses in the Impact Women's Division. Taya Valkyrie has left the company. She's just leaving the company. I just don't think she re-signed a contract. PW Insider first reported the news Tuesday after she was written off the show, as she revealed she was the one who shot Johnny Bravo in a storyline that started last year. She was taken into custody and admitted she shot him to prevent her friend Rosemary from marrying Bravo. Apparently her contract expired in December, but she stayed on to help finish up the storyline and to give Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo a win at last Saturday's Hard to Kill show. She was in the final year of a multi-year contract. Well, thank you, Taya, for your service, and I'm sure we'll see her pop up somewhere else. Madison Rayne also announced her retirement at Hard to Kill. She is actually just retiring. She is done with the business. She's got her degree, I believe, and she is moving on to civilian life, as Rob would call it. So Taya Valkyrie and Madison Rayne are both moving on from Impact.
I gotta say, Madison Rayne is we don't give Madison Rayne enough credit. She really is. She belongs in that same conversation with gosh, man, I mean the greats, man. She with a Mickey James, she belongs up there. She's so influential. She's been around for a long time. She's done everything. The beautiful people that she organization that she was part of, the little faction, I think was one of the best factions in the history of women's wrestling. She's always been an athlete. She was never just eye candy. She was never just paraded around her, although she's, she, not to say she's not easy on the eyes, but Madison Rayne is one that deserves consideration for Hall of Fame status. She's one of the greats, and she will be missed in the business, and best wishes on a well-deserved retirement.
Absolutely agree. But in other news involving Impact, we trade those 2 ladies out, and we've got I've left the goodbye Impact thing here. I was almost professional, but ODB recently spoke with Chris Van Vliet and confirmed she is returning to the ring with Impact Wrestling here in the near future. She says, I'm actually getting back in the ring. So Impact called me. And that's the cool thing about this stuff. I've never burnt a bridge in wrestling. We've all had our bad moments, whatever you want when you go tell someone to go F themselves. But Impact's always been awesome. TNA was my home, and they buzzed me. And every time I'm like, okay, here we go. But they were like, hey, do you want to come back and see what happens and possibly bring the food truck? So that's my ultimate goal, to actually drive ODB's meet and greet into the stadium and kick some ass. So she didn't say exactly when this is going to happen, but she does say she's looking forward to coming home. And she name dropped a few people. She said, I see that Jazz is over there, and nobody's ever seen me and Jazz go at it on TV. Jordan Grace is another good one. And Taya, well, she's wrong about that one. But anyway, so ODB apparently is coming back to Impact Pro Wrestling. All right. And then if you guys didn't see Impact, the big news probably. Oh, Rob, do you have something?
I was just going to mention ODB is a NWA alumnus.
True.
On Power multiple times, had wrestled, I believe, Sienna or Allison Kay. And, she came in and she was, it was an unexpected appearance along the lines of like Scott Steiner's appearance there. So anytime you hear ODB news, that's NWA relevant.
That's a good point, Rob. I do appreciate you bringing that up. So then if you missed Impact on Tuesday, the best way I could find is if you're not an Impact Plus subscriber, is you can catch clips on YouTube and basically see what happened. Private Party showed up out of nowhere on Impact this week as Chris Sabin challenged the Good Brothers, and they said, you don't have a partner. And then he said he brought out the best partner, an excellent tag team wrestler, and James Storm came out. So then James Storm joined Chris Sabin to take on the Good Brothers, but the Good Brothers said they weren't defending the titles yet, so there had to be a number 1 contenders match. And so James Storm and Chris Sabin took on Private Party. when Private Party with Matt Hardy just magically appeared on Impact. Also at ringside during this match was Tony Khan and Jerry Lynn. And Tony Khan was taking notes in his little captain's log notebook. And Private Party did end up winning this match. And they won the number one contendership, and they will be going on to face the Good Brothers for the Impact Championship. So Private Party, by the way, that meant they were on 2 shows in one night. So they're pulling that thing. This has just become a common thing, I guess. Private Party were on Dark and on Impact. Yeah, the old Rick Rude. So anyway, that is that. While I was perusing the Wrestling Observer newsletter, I did see some other stuff that I thought was interesting. I cannot remember if we remembered to mention this, so it is worth mentioning. Local Memphis Wrestling returns to television soon. The CW affiliate WLMT will begin airing championship wrestling from Memphis in a noon Saturday time slot. Dave Marquez and Dustin and Maria Starr are all behind this, and it will feature Memphis legends, they're saying, and younger area talent. The first TV taping is going to take place on February 14th at the Top of the Line Hall in Memphis at 2 p.m. So Memphis wrestling's coming back. Felt appropriate.
We're talking about Jerry Lawler territory right now, man.
That's what I'm saying. So very interesting stuff. All right. What else do we have in the news?
Did you see the article? I didn't see it in our notes. Did you see the article about the 7 episodes being discussed so far for the Dark Side of the Ring?
Bro, it is so weird you said that, because literally my next news item that I was going to bring up was that, and you may know more than me because I actually only caught one of them, but it involved this guy right here. And it was, according to the Observer, it appears that there will be a Dark Side of the Ring episode on Johnny K9 / Bruiser Bedlam. Meltzer writes, a former wrestler who was involved in tons of mob activities, including being accused of murder. He was a pro wrestler who worked for years as an enhancement guy for WWF and was pushed as a top star for Jim Cornette in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Former wrestler Mickey Doyle reported this. It makes sense because they love Cornette, and Cornette can tell all kinds of stories. It could be another New Jack style episode, which was one of the most popular episodes they did. He writes here, in other Dark Side news, Steve Austin did an interview with Jamil Hill where he noted that the Brian Pillman episode, which from all accounts is said to be great, will feature him and be the first episode of season 3. Rob, is that the stuff you've heard as well?
Yeah, same thing. I was going to mention the Brian Pillman bit was what I caught, and the one that you just mentioned. So more information about that's supposed to be forthcoming here in the next couple of weeks, but looks like it's shaping up to be a good season.
Yeah, it does. And other interesting news I saw, I watched this after dark. If you haven't seen, this is like dark from 2 weeks ago. There was a wrestler on there named El Cuervo de Puerto Rico. And he was really, really talented guy. And I thought I had a picture of him here that I could show you, but I guess I don't. Maybe I didn't bring it over. Oh, here you go. Hold on. I got it. I'm bringing it on. Sorry, podcast. Boom. This guy, El Cuervo de Puerto Rico. That guy. Lucha Libre Online interviewed him, and they talked about his match with it would probably be Angel O Dominio, where he was hit by a thrown brick in the back of his head and he nearly died. He said he believes the whole thing was a setup, saying he was never booked for the match and thinks it was done by jealous people because he was doing well. He credited LA Park for getting an ambulance called immediately when those running the show were slow and weren't even checking on him. He also said he was told by his doctor never to watch the video, but he did anyway, and it sent him into a deep depression. I only mention all this because he was on AEW Dark, and Excalibur expounded on this a little bit, saying that he was just coming back from a life-threatening, much less a life-threatening injury. And I went down the rabbit hole of looking this guy up, and apparently he was like a top star in the Indies, or coming up in Puerto Rico and like just in the independent scene in Latin America stuff. And anyway, yeah, he has a hardcore match with this guy, and Dave Meltzer says a brick, but I watched it, is a freaking cinder block. And he is outside the ring, and this guy just picks up a cinder block and throws it at his head, and it just smashes on his head, and he just does not get back up. And I don't know what the hell was going on there, but it was pretty messed up. Anyway, it's on YouTube. If you look up Angel versus El Cuervo, you'll find it.
I'm going to pass on that one.
All right, well, just saying.
That's rough, man. So it was the guy that he was actually in the match with?
Yeah, it was the guy he was in the match with. Yeah, it was pretty nasty. It was
Did they ever figure out what happened, or is it all just like conspiracy theory at this point?
Well, the guy said apparently at the time when I was like researching it, Angel, the guy he was fighting, said that it was because he thought his chair shots were too stiff. So he was pissed off about that. So he threw a cinder block at his skull.
Kill him.
Yeah. But anyway, but that's about all I know about it as far as legit news on that. But anyway, he's on Dark.
He's just been on there once. Is he gonna be back, or is he kind of still rehabbing?
I wish I knew, but they should bring him back. But he looked good. I mean, so he looked like he was perfectly capable of going now, and so hopefully we'll see more out of him as time goes on here. All right, and the last thing I had on the Observer, just because I thought we were going to have like 2 hours to kill and plenty of news time to talk about things, was that The Rock and his ex-wife Danny here, they they own the XFL. They have like an entertainment company and like all other kinds of stuff. Well, they're also launching a new energy drink in March called Zoa. I just thought Will might be interested in that because I know you like your 5-hour energies, and The Rock is going to launch a new energy drink. And I'm talking about you. Like, I don't buy Terramana just because it's The Rock's tequila. So anyway, just an extra news item for all of you.
I mean, what else can they do at this point? Why not try it?
Meltzer did make some notes on ROH as well. He said that it appears there's going to be a major program coming up soon that's going to be a feud between the Foundation and what is that other name? It's like La Facción Ingobernables. Yeah. So it's Jay Lethal, Jonathan Gresham, Hot Sauce, Tracy Williams, and Rhett Titus. And the other group is like Dragon Lee, Kenny King, and Beth Del Ring, and Roosh. Yeah, the champion.
Roosh
and
is
Dragon Lee, the TV
faction,
champion. What's that?
I said Roosh is the leader of that faction.
That is correct, yes.
Fascion. They just call it Fascion for short. But yeah, that's cool.
It is Dragon Lee and Ray Horace. If you have not watched wrestling this week, I'll tell you what. Here's my suggestion. Anybody listening is, if you want to see something on Monday Night Raw, there is a match between AJ Styles and Ricochet that is pretty sweet. It is a really good match, even though they don't give a damn about Ricochet. AJ Styles at least takes enough pride at his craft, and Ricochet does, that they have a pretty damn fine match. And it has the best finisher I've ever seen involving the Styles Clash. Like, I think it's awesome. But so that match is really great. But I say that because it reminded me, I was reminded of that when I thought of, if you haven't seen Ring of Honor this week, on Tuesday's episode, Dragon Lee defends the TV championship against Ray Horace, I believe. And that match is also freaking phenomenal. It is outstanding. There's a Flip Gordon and Rhett Titus match right before that, which is also great. But this match was just, it blew me away. So anyway, just thought I'd mention those things. Our other ROH news is Dalton Castle still hasn't re-signed, but supposedly they're talking. So, am I talking too much, guys? How you guys been? Doing okay?
I'm just enjoying it, man. I haven't. I told you guys this before, but we've had the sickness going around our household this week, starting with my toddler, and so it's been fun. I haven't haven't watched much wrestling this week since Saturday night when we watched Hard to Kill, which was a lot of fun. So I'm just enjoying catching up on all the news with This Is Gary Horn.
All right. Well, thanks. Joe, thanks for watching on Facebook while watching MLW. We appreciate you being here, however you found us. Let's see here. So we'll jump into some AEW news real quick if you'd like. We'll go there first before we hit the WWE. If you haven't done so already, you can still go vote for the AEW Dynamite Award Show. It's going to take place on January 27th. It'll be at 7 p.m. It'll be on all the social medias and everywhere you can find AEW stuff. Best moment on the mic, breakout star, biggest surprise, biggest beatdown. I think we ran through all of this last week. So you guys check it out. Credit to WrestleZone for this news. If you haven't heard the discussion about the Too Sweet hand signal, that's been going on. Apparently WWE has tried to claim copyright on that. And officially, I think AEW did get the copyright on that. And so anyway, Bullet Club's Tama Tonga on his podcast said he is not impressed by any of this stuff. He said that he doesn't care if they trademark that symbol. He says, if you guys think that you did the Too Sweet heard around the world, F that nonsense. He says, are you kidding me, man? That is whack anyways. We've done that and we've moved on. Basically, he says, I would get the company to cease and desist their bitch asses, but I ain't no snitch. Ain't nobody jealous. The only people they're advertising is themselves, not Bullet Club. You should have known that when they did the whole Elite thing. They used Bullet Club as a platform. So that was Tama Tonga's thoughts on the whole thing from the Bullet Club.
Never filtered.
There's a bunch of good points, though, man. But someone said in the chat, who was it? John Stallman. I'm surprised that Nash hadn't copyrighted that junk.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean NWA.
It's not about being a snitch. It's about getting paid for what you created. It's about
a lot of people were expecting something with because on Hard to Kill they all wore Bullet Club shirts, and but I don't know. I was listening to Meltzer's show the other day, and he was just like, "Hey, what are they going to get mad at that they're advertising their promotion, on the other show?" He was like, I'm sure that if he walked out and said it was Bullet Club, that would be a different thing, but just wearing a shirt probably doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
Well, here's the conversation, I guess, where in my mind it's no negative words towards Tama Tonga. He's incredible. But when you look at the Bullet Club, they've been around for a while. A lot of people have come through there, a lot of big names in professional wrestling, a lot of them in WWE now and AEW and different places. But, he talks about AEW using the Bullet Club as a platform. Is that what he said when you were quoting him?
Yeah, right.
But my only pushback to that, and maybe it's just because of the time period where I was actually introduced to the Bullet Club, was it the Bullet Club that made those guys famous, or did they really make the Bullet Club more mainstream? Because I first heard about the Bullet Club through Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, when Cody eventually, joined ROH and joined, and Adam Cole. That was, I know before that AJ Styles, Finn Balor, those guys, but you know what I mean? So I kind of come at it I get what he's saying, but I feel like those guys actually elevated the Bullet Club. So it was almost the other way around, in my opinion, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it started to get popular with Finn and those guys, but and then AJ Styles, it became I don't know. I don't know what came first there. If it was
I know I was a wrestling fan. I was a mainstream wrestling fan. When I say that, I mean I was a WWE fan when all that was going on in Japan and everything. And I might have heard of the Bullet Club, but honestly, it wasn't until the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and that was when it really became a force to be reckoned with, I guess, in pro wrestling as a whole. But again, I could just have my timing off, and maybe you guys were all like into it way before that, and but that's just my response to that comment.
Well, truth be told, I don't think I was ever like huge into it or anything like that. I never watched New Japan back then, so I can't really speak to it. I don't know about Rob, but
I actually know, and you guys aren't even going to believe me, and I hesitate to even mention it here, but I was there the day that the Bullet Club was born, and it was not Kenny Omega.
1948.
Yeah, it was not Kenny Omega. True talk. It was not Kenny Omega. It was not the Young Bucks. The man who invented the Bullet Club was none other than the real Nature Boy Paul Lee. And that is a true story. I was there. I saw it happen. I was in the room. Now,
Rob Stinson.
Okay. No, I'm just.
We're talking about the wrestling faction, not like.
I don't know if you saw what happened today, but we're over fake news. None of that's happening anymore.
It's a true story, man. I mean, if you want to hear about it, I can tell you, but you're just going to laugh. That's why I didn't want to say anything.
Well, listen, now you've opened up the can of worms. You come on.
You might as well tell the story, bro.
All right. The origins of the Bullet Club reside in none other than Paul Lee and Luke Gallows. And this happened in the American Wrestling Federation right here in Ringgold, Georgia. And they had a small little faction. It's not like Luke Gallows was a regular feature, but he's a friend of Paul. And he comes in and out from time to time. And they had a small organization for a while called the Gentlemen's Club. And they did their thing, and then Luke went off and took the whole concept of the club, whatever that is, off to Japan and this and that. And it eventually, that was the embryonic origins of what became the Bullet Club, and that is a true story.
I'm fact checking you right now.
Go ahead. You're not going to find it online.
Don't Google gentlemen.
No one else was in the room when it happened.
All right. Jedi Warrior saying, let's just call a spade a spade. Bullet Club didn't get major mainstream attention in social media light until the Elite came around.
He's absolutely right.
Could probably back that.
Jedi Warrior's absolutely right. It was sort of an informal association of kind of like the clique. It's kind of like the clique. They're buddies. They would call themselves that. They would make allusions to it. But it only became a really big deal when, like Jedi Warrior says, when the Elite came around. But I'm telling you, the Bullet Club has, and it may not just be Luke Gallows and Paul Lee, but Paul Lee and Luke Gallows are very much a part of the origins of it, kind of like the origins of pro wrestling. You've got multiple strands that feed into this entity that we know as pro wrestling now. But that did happen, and I know for a fact that it happened.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I really have no idea about it. So I'm sure that Paul Lee would appreciate you bringing that to light.
Sounds like that would be a good episode for one of our
Dark Side of the Ring
upcoming. Well,
episode 8,
upcoming historical narratives that we're planning on doing. That'd be a fun one. The story of the Bullet Club, Rob's version.
All right. Well,
I've got a movie that I produced myself called.
I don't want to hear about this.
Let's talk more MLW. That's more interesting.
No, go ahead. Tell us about the movie you produced there in your basement.
You're right. I have a movie that I produced myself called The Nature Boy Meets Sex Ferguson. And this is back in the day. It's a long, long time ago, and I have it, and I can show you guys. But the only reason that I haven't released it is because Super Show Productions owns it, and that's Paul Lee's entity, and and it's his. So I just helped him edit it on iMovie.
Well, tell him to let's release it on the This Is Pro Wrestling.
The world ain't ready for it, bro. The world ain't ready for it.
All right.
It's inappropriate. That's what he means.
It's on This Is Pro Wrestling After Dark.
I was going to say, would you have to, you think, get rights from like Impact? Like you'd get wrangled up in legal issues with Tony Khan?
Not at all. No, I have it, man. I have it right now. It's on this computer that I'm looking at. The original The original pre-edited copy. I've got it right now.
Well, we'll just let you just play it right now for everybody here live.
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right. I don't think you guys give me share screen capabilities.
Okay.
Well, it's because most of the other videos that you tried to show on the live show don't have anything to do with wrestling. Anyway,
we don't want to get banned from YouTube forever. So.
Right. We're trying to build a brand here, Rob. Tony Khan. This is not a great lead into this. Tony Khan was a guest this week with Renee Paquette on Oral Sessions, her podcast. And the two begin speaking about the ongoing relationship AEW has with Impact Wrestling. Khan explained on the show, there was a few nuggets here. He explained how the Kenny Omega was responsible for really getting things moving with the Impact relationship. Paquette asked about his paid ads on Impact and how often we might see him as an on-air character. Khan said he's not going to be the wrestling GM in a traditional sense, like we've come to know it. He explained that he has come as close to doing it as he's going to. He noted that he made a big exception in coming out to the ring for the Brody Lee tribute show, adding that it was the right thing to do to express how much Brody meant for the company. I wanted to pay the highest respect to him that I could and his family and be there for him. But other than that, I never come out and done that in that role. Occasionally, because of the story with Impact, a couple of times it made sense. For example, the Young Bucks were waiting to be introduced by Don Callis. Brody brought out the Good Brothers instead, and Matt and Nick were standing there right there by the curtain and Gorilla with me, and I'm not going to be thrilled about that either. They should have expected this from Kenny by now, but I don't want to be like a regular character. We have a limited amount of TV time, and we have a great roster, and there's a lot of people that need to be featured. Quite frankly, the character of the general manager doesn't need to be featured on TV a lot. I'm the general manager of a Premier League team. You don't see me out there that much. That's not the job of general manager. It's not to be on TV. There's a time and a place. If there's a statement that needs to be made, you do it. But in the case of AEW, it's announcing matches. Basically, that's what he's saying here. He's just not going to be the Vince McMahon character ever, really, with AEW. He also confirmed that AEW Dynamite on TNT would remain 2 hours. There was a lot of excitement added in January when AEW announced that they signed a new multi-year deal with TNT that goes through 2023. And at that time, they announced that there will be a second weekly show for Dynamite, too. Currently, there is not a launch date set for that show. He just confirmed that it will not be an additional hour of AEW. They'll just do something different. And he said that Omega was the one who came up with the Impact idea. He asked him to do it. He said this was something Kenny brought up, and I thought it was a great idea. I give 100% of the credit to Kenny. He said it had something to do with the relationship between Callis and Omega, noting that Omega has been a very powerful advocate for Callis, who has made appearances in AEW as a manager. Regarding Omega's recent change in character, Khan compared it to Steve Austin's run in 2001 as a heel, saying that Kenny just wanted to present something new. He asked me about this Impact thing. I love good ideas. This was something Kenny brought up. I thought it was cool. He said basically he didn't want to present the same Kenny Omega people are used to seeing. He put so much thought into innovating and changing, and that's why I always say the best wrestlers in the world, Kenny and Jon Moxley, are working for us right now. Anyway, so I'm rambling there, but you get the idea. A lot of stuff that came out about Tony Khan there on that interview with Renee Paquette. She also invited McMahon for anybody who cares, but that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of good things in that interview. Obviously, the points about him not being the on-screen character. I could go either way on that, but I think that's definitely the right choice. It's another one of those things that, unfortunately, WWE throughout the years, past couple of decades, has really soured us on that whole deal. It's kind of like our conversation the other night about DQ finishes. Like, those can be very powerful, very useful, very meaningful in a storyline. But when you overdo it, you end up ruining it. I feel like that's the same thing that happened with the authority figures on. I mean, they literally had a faction called the Authority so they could be on TV, So, I mean, I'm glad that he's kind of shying away from that. I mean, the skeptical side of me says, well, we'll see. This thing's still really young. So there might get a point where he changes his tune on that. But that, and then also I just love him giving the credit to Kenny for the Impact crossover stuff. I think that's kind of a breath of fresh air in the wrestling world, where I feel like everybody's trying to take credit for every good idea, especially if you're in a position like Tony Khan, where you're, over this shiny new wrestling promotion that has a lot of traction. Like, for him to pass off the credit for that idea that's really been the buzz of the wrestling world for the last month. It's a pretty cool move. I respect him for that.
We can move into some WWE news if you guys would like. And we can always circle back to whatever. But I didn't know this until today. What?
Rob rolled his eyes. He's going to take a nap. Just take a nap.
The Undertaker was on Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience, which surprised the hell out of me. A 164-minute conversation with Joe Rogan and his boy Tony Hinchcliffe. Rogan just tweeted out today, fun times with The Undertaker and my brother Tony Hinchcliffe. It's available now on Spotify. Taker responded, there are not too many topics we didn't speak about. This was a great talk. And so anyway, just thought that was kind of cool that The Undertaker is going to be there and apparently unplugged. He's going to talk about whatever with Joe Rogan. So just interesting. I'm going to check that out. I haven't had a chance yet. I don't know if the chat has, but seems like it could be a fun interview.
I have not. I got to go check that out. Joe Rogan's only on Spotify, right? Is he one of those
Spotify exclusive? Yeah.
Oh, damn it. All
right. Many people have been declaring they're in the Royal Rumble match, including the Good Brothers. But as it turns out, you can only declare yourself in a match if management says you can. This is the new rule that just came up. Adam Pearce had to go on Twitter to set the record straight today, because I think it was Brian Gerwich tweeted out, like, what's this with everybody just saying they're in the Royal Rumble? Like, can you just do that? And it's been a thing on Raw where, well, I think we've seen Drew Gulak say he's in the Royal Rumble, and Adam Pearce is like, seriously, man, I'll give you a match to see if you're in the Royal Rumble. We could do that. And then this week on Raw, who was it? It was Ricochet. Ricochet wanted to get in the Royal Rumble, but Adam Pearce said, well, if you beat AJ Styles, that'll take you a long way to getting into the Royal Rumble. Well, today, Adam Pearce came on. The Good Brothers were on Twitter saying, like, well, with this logic, that we declare for the Royal Rumble. And anyway, so that's probably not going to happen. Adam Pearce came on Twitter and said, it's actually pretty simple. Those that have been granted the ability to simply declare entry into the Royal Rumble by management know who they are and are free to do so. Those that haven't must qualify. I don't write the rules. I just enforce them. And so
it makes my brain hurt, man. Like when they put in the effort to like try to apply logic to stuff like this, but it's like doesn't make any sense. That's where my head just starts spinning, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, I mean, if you're not going to just let people declare, then give it stakes, make a tournament, make a like, you know what I mean? Like, do some kind of way to qualify. I mean, because this happens every year. People just come out and say, I'm in the Royal Rumble. Like, this is not new. It's not like it's a 2021 thing. And this is like the first year they're addressing it and saying, well, no, actually, we're going to tell you if you can declare, and then if you want to, you can declare. It's like, what? Come on. Like, do better. Do better than that.
I mean, you could use that. There's an opportunity there. Obviously, your top 10 contenders and this and that get an automatic right to declare. But then you do what they did on NXT for the War Games. You know, you have a match to determine who qualifies to be on one of the War Games teams, and you can build this. You can do this that's 3 or 4 weeks of content right there, man, and it's meaningful.
Oh, yeah.
That's an excellent point.
By the way, today, January the 20th, 2002, is the anniversary of the longest Royal Rumble in history, won by Triple H, who eliminated Kurt Angle, I believe, in the 2002 Royal Rumble, the longest Royal Rumble in history.
7 days long. That's crazy.
It's like 69 minutes and 22 seconds.
You are such just a fountain of wisdom about professional wrestling. I'm glad you're on our team.
Am I?
For now.
That is a good question. All right. So the only other, well, if you're curious about who was qualified to announce themselves in the Royal Rumble, so far it's been Bobby Lashley, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Otis, The Miz, Jey Uso, Cesaro, and Jeff Hardy. They are the announced 2021 WWE superstars so far. Ricochet, Drew Gulak, GFY.
We can skip the next part where I was going to declare that I'm in the Royal Rumble, because I guess now I can't do that. So we can skip to the next story.
Female superstars are Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, Bianca Belair, Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, Peyton Royce, Alexa Bliss. So that's all for right this second that have been announced formally. WWE, obviously, if you win the Royal Rumble, you get a challenge for the World Championship at one of their World Championships at WrestleMania. That is going to be at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. And WWE is reportedly planning for 25,000 fans to attend both nights. They're doing it over 2 nights again. And Stephanie McMahon has revealed that they do insist on having live plans this time. That's why they're doing it in Florida this year. And anyway, so that is another thing that's happening. Great. Sure, we'll have a WrestleMania party.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about tag teams. The women's WWE Dusty Rhodes Classic was announced. Get a load of these guys.
Ooh.
You got Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell versus Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon versus Marina Shafir and Zoe Stark. Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm versus Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. And Aaliyah and Jessie Camilla versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Now, you might be asking yourself, you might be saying, Self, who are some of these people? I don't know these names. And you'd be right. Like, some of these names are brand new names, like Zoe Stark and Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade. If you're wondering who they are, you might know them better as Zoe Stark is formerly known as Lacey Ryan, who has signed with the WWE. Gigi Dolan is formerly known as Priscilla Kelly, who has been signed by the WWE. And Cora Jade is formerly known as Elayna Black, who has decided to sign with the WWE. So there are your tournament brackets right there for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. The women's version that's happening right now. Ryan Romano already calling Dakota and Raquel all the way. My heart was set on Shotzi and Ember, but I could see that being the finals for sure. We'll see, Ryan.
I'm a Toni Storm guy, so that's my pick.
Yeah.
Tony and Mercedes.
Guys, why do they have to change these names?
That's
I was just about to say, man.
It drives me nuts. Why would you change Priscilla Kelly? Of all people, Priscilla Kelly.
Gigi Dolan?
All of them. What are you talking about? All of them. Priscilla
I'm not trying to knock anybody, but I feel like Priscilla Kelly just has like a very large imprint in the wrestling community. And
I think it's insulting. I mean, you're talking about Priscilla. Let's look at the accolades here, okay? Lacey Ryan, who was in the finals of the Mission Pro tournament, lost the match to La Rosa Negra, but could very easily have been the first Mission Pro champion. Elayna Black, who was at the very first Mission Pro show and defeated Rachel Rose. And then, of course, Priscilla Kelly, who gave probably maybe the best match in the history of UWN Primetime Live so far. Every single one of these women have a legacy. They have a hard-earned reputation. They deserve respect. And why do you change their name? I don't understand that at all. I'm not pleased by it. I'm not entertained by it. I'm not fooled by it. It's silly and it's ridiculous and it's insulting to these hardworking women. Now, congratulations to these women for getting this shot at NXT. No doubt, take your shot for sure. But for NXT to make them change their names, it's a slap in the face, and I can't stand it.
Listen, I'm not opposed to name changes. I just think that they're always so terrible. Like Gigi Dolan, Zoe Stark, like they sound like cartoon caricatures of people. Like Priscilla Kelly is a name that, you know, has built up respect. You know what I mean? But has, you know who she is. She's got a reputation. She's a great wrestler. And I mean, if you're going to change it, at least make it like similar. I mean, they've done that in the past. You just change, you know, make her Priscilla, something else. But it's like to totally change it around into like a cartoon character sounding thing. It's just
some basic name like Lance Rage, you know, or Lance Fury or some junk like that, man.
We should. How about the chat can weigh in on this? What would the three of us? What would our NXT cartoon names be? That would be a fun topic of conversation. Lance Rage. That really does sound like a name they would come up with.
Lance Fury, Lance Rage. You know,
Fury Rage.
You know, I mean,
I hate the name Priscilla, so I'm cool. I had a science teacher named Gigi that I was really fond of, so this is cool for me. That's not true. None of that's true. No, I think it's stupid too. I think if you're coming up through the performance center and you're not like an established commodity, like you're just breaking into the industry, they're grooming you from the beginning, then fine. But the world's become smaller. This makes me feel like it's one of those things that like the WWE is behind the times on, especially like if you're Lacey Ryan and you've already been busting your ass on the indies, if you're Priscilla Kelly and you've been doing this for forever, and even Elayna Black, who I think might be the newest of those, but I'm not 100% sure, but she's already started to establish her name. It's like, dude, the problem is WWE thinks they're the only company. They're the only company they pay attention to. They're the only ones they care about. So they like to assume that their fan base doesn't know about any other wrestling company. So those people can't exist.
Not only is it an insult to those wrestlers, those athletes who earned their name, they earned their reputation, they've worked and labored under those names for years. None of those girls just started yet. They didn't just wake up yesterday and decide, hey, we're going to go into wrestling. They've been pursuing this in an industry that is not friendly to women on the outset. It's getting better now, but they had to, they're trailblazers, and they earned those names. I wish Front Row was in the chat because I know he always talks me off a ledge, and he usually has, you know, some reasonable things to say. But it's like not only is it an insult to it's an insult to them, but it's an insult to the fans. I think that NXT appeals to a more intelligent fan base than your mainstream WWE products like Raw and SmackDown. The people that watch NXT are people like us, like the people in the chat that really care about like prize fighting and history and tradition. This is the one thing that like Triple H has control over. Vince gives them pretty much large sway over it. He loves wrestling. He respects tradition and history. The fans who are watching NXT know who these women are. They know who Priscilla. Everybody in that is a regular watcher of NXT knows who Priscilla Kelly is. Why change her name? I do not understand it. It is unfathomable that they could do that, and it's an insult. And they shouldn't. I can't believe they're doing that, man. And this is not a hit on those women. Again, they earned this shot. If someone came to me and said, hey, this is an opportunity to be exposed before a national audience, and here's the only thing, Rob, you got to change your name, I'd be like, well, if it's what I got to do to pay the bills and feed my family, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm pretty sure they didn't like it. You know what I mean? And it's an insult to them, and it's an insult to the fans.
Yeah, Ryan Romano pointing out, I mean, Elayna Black was on AEW already as Elayna Black, so it's like she's
that's part of it though. It's WWE saying who you were before us doesn't exist. You are ours now, and we know how they are with wanting to keep everything, and they want to own they're thinking from a business standpoint too. So I understand why they do it. It's stupid and it sucks as a fan because it insults our intelligence. But they're sitting there going, okay, well, we want to sell your merch and make all the money. We want to, get every dime for your character. And so this is your name now. We own this, blah, blah, blah. And, Ryan Romano even said in the chat, Thunder Rosa is talking about, like, if she ever went to WWE, she would trademark all her shit before she went over there. Like, so she would have the rights to that stuff.
Well, what business sense do you think it makes up? Because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like,
well, that's the thing. It does
names. He's reading off these names, and I'm like, I don't recognize those names. Now, if I looked at the Observer tomorrow and said, oh my gosh, Priscilla Kelly and Elayna Black are in NXT, I'm tuning in to see that. That makes all the businesses. Think about it.
But that's where they're out of touch.
Nick Aldis. If Nick Aldis went to NXT, do you think they would try to change his name to Magnus or something? And if they did,
with Magnus,
what an insult that would be to change the name from Nick Aldis, the greatest wrestler in the world right now.
They'd probably try to, but here's why:
it would be Samuel Hollingsworth, and he would be a rich guy like Regal started out as.
He'd be William Regal Jr., and they'd try to say it was his son. That's what they would do. It's partly business.
Well, how? How is it business? How does it serve?
Listen. Let me finish. It's partly business, but it's mostly possessive. So they want to own that thing, and they know that. And this is all ego. This is all me speculating. I don't know. I don't know Vince McMahon. I don't hang out with him. But just from what we've seen and the patterns and stuff like that, it's that, okay, if you introduce Priscilla Kelly and there's an archive of her in other promotions, right? So if you go looking for her, you're going to find all these other promotions, and they feel threatened by that for some reason. Like, they want to create something that's their own and do it. I don't think it's right. I'm just trying to rationalize why they would make such careless decisions when it comes to name recognition and being able to bring someone in and have that clout that they've spent years building up. It just doesn't make any sense. The only way that I can rationalize it is what I just said, that they just want to own it for some reason, like merch sales. They don't want you seeing them in other promotions. They don't want you to go watch Priscilla Kelly versus Thunder Rosa. They don't want you to go see Elayna Black on AEW Dark. So they're trying to like erase, that from our memory, but we're not idiots. You know what I mean? So we know, we see through it, and that's where it becomes insulting.
Well, it's like, it feels like that way even with Luke Harper leaving to become Brody Lee. It was like, that's about the only time that their arm is twisted enough that they're like, okay, we can't just pretend like this guy doesn't exist. Let's, we'll give him his name back for the segment on, the screen, like the one thing we throw up in memory of or whatever. And I don't know, Rob. I mean, here we are, and we're talking about insurance and being treated like employees. You're like, a business is a business. They do what they do.
Well, we're also in the Me Too age, and I don't know how more personal you can get than to assault somebody in inappropriate ways and to strip their very identity. When you say you can come here, but you can't come here under the name. The name you have is not going to be welcome here. I've got to put my brand on you. That's a personal thing. And I think it's my friend Lex Lee, one of the greatest independent tag team wrestlers. Ask Sandoval. He's seen him. This is one of the hardest working men. I've seen this guy grow up from being a referee to being one of the most talented independent talents in the Southeast. He's going everywhere winning talent. And he appeared on WWE, but not under his name. They called him Gary Graham. Look it up. Gary Graham is what he appeared as. They would not let him appear.
What a stupid,
wrong with the name
nerdy name.
But his name is Lex Lee. That's the name that he was born under. That's the name that he identifies with. That's the name that he's branded. And they said, "Oh yeah, you got a spot, but not under your name." And I think I'm not saying it's as bad as some of the things that are being talked about with the Me Too movement, but it's similar. We're talking about an assault on somebody's person. I mean, their identity is being stripped and taken away. And I'm sure, I guarantee you, women like Priscilla Kelly, Elayna Black are not saying, "Oh, yay, that's great. I hate that name anyway." They're forced to do that in order to make this.
Well, so let me ask you this, Rob. I mean, just since we're talking about this, I mean, where does that make you land on? And this is me just legitimately asking, as far as like, say, Zelina Vega and her Twitch account, and she can't be anything but Zelina Vega. Like, that's her name on WWE. That's her identity now that the public knows her by. But WWE says, well, you can't use that. You can't be Zelina Vega. So she could go on there, maybe, potentially. They would try to own her, I think. But she could go on there under her regular name. But she wouldn't be Zelina Vega, the person that her whole career is built on. I mean, does this change your perspective on this stuff at all? Like,
well, I believe that persons acting as independent contractors have rights, and that entities have rights as well. But we're getting into fundamentals, and I'm not saying that this is like illegal. I'm not saying it's illegal. There are a lot of things that are legal and constitutional and all that I find reprehensible, But in this case, I think that stripping a person's identity and saying, "Hey, if you're going to be part of our company, we're going to limit your interaction with third parties," is two different matters. I think it's apples and oranges. So, we have different debates, and we can have the debate about third parties and whatnot, and whether it's valid as a prescription for being a member of this particular brand. But I think that's a whole different thing from saying, "Hey, you're coming in here and I'm going to strip your identity from you. Everything that you've worked for, I'm going to take away." Now, granted, you don't have to come in under those terms. And I don't think that anything that the WWE did in those terms is like illegal or unethical technically, but it's in very, very poor taste for these hardworking women who have earned these names. And go ahead, Will.
Let me ask you this though, because here's an alternative, situation that may have actually happened. Priscilla Kelly comes in and they're like, "Hey, we're going to hire you. You have a choice. We're going to trademark your name and we're going to own Priscilla Kelly, which is her real name. And so merch sales, all that kind of stuff, or you can let us change your name." And so maybe it was her decision to say, "No, I don't want to sell the rights to my name. I don't want to get in a Cody Rhodes situation." So she says no, and they say, "Okay, you're Gigi Dolan." Like, that could have happened too. Same thing for Lacey Ryan.
And Paladin, I don't find the Constitution reprehensible, by the way. I mean, I find free speech to be a fundamental right, but there's lots of speech out there that's freely spoken that I find reprehensible. So it's not the Constitution I have a problem with. But to your point, so there are other things that you have to delve into there, Will. Like in third-party agreements, does Priscilla Kelly, as a employee of NXT, still have a right to function and operate and make money as Priscilla Kelly? Right. Can she still do that as a third party? Because then that's by definition a third party, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are other, and again, this is not a legality or an ethical issue. This is a taste issue. So I do not like it at all. I think it's bad. I think it's insulting. But we're not talking about criminality here. I mean, I think
we're just talking about poor taste.
We're talking about taste.
Well, I mean, like Will said earlier, is, I mean, you are talking about a company that like was holding Cody Rhodes hostage. Like you couldn't beat Cody Rhodes. Like,
right.
Keep that name. Like, we own that name now. And
in a free country, man, in a free country, you have a right to do things that I personally find reprehensible. And that's part of it. I was a uniformed soldier fighting for the right to defend your right. In a free country, you don't have the right to be unoffended. You have the right to be offended with regularity. And this offends me, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. It's just weird because I don't know. Like, I also feel like it's also odd that I think those people can't really take on like acting roles and stuff like that, as without it being pushed through the WWE, but they're not full-time employees. They're they're just independent contractors. But
I don't want to rain on their parade, man. I think that probably right now Elayna Black, Priscilla Kelly, and Lacey Ryan are thrilled at this opportunity. and they probably had some reservations about the name change, but they're thrilled, and I congratulate them. They deserve this. They deserve all that they get.
They've earned the spot. They're excellent wrestlers.
Yes.
It's just that I'm with Will. I mean, I'm with both of you. It sounds like. I mean, we're all together on this, but not to jump on what you're saying, but it just seems like they're out of touch. I guess that's the only way to put it. Like Will keeps saying, is they just don't get it. Like, why would you not want Priscilla Kelly to be Priscilla Kelly? They're expecting nobody to know the difference, and the world's too connected now. I feel like that's so far beyond, like back in the day where if you started out wrestling in California and you moved over to South Carolina, sure, just change up the gimmick and you could be a new guy and run the same programs you did over in the other place and nobody know. But that's not the way of the world right now. And It seems like to me you would want the weight of having a name like Priscilla Kelly backing her up coming into your promotion, like what you talked about, Rob, where it's like, damn, they signed Priscilla Kelly. That's cool. Let's see what she does at NXT now.
How about like introducing Lacey Ryan as she was in the finals of the Mission Pro Women's Championship? I mean, this is a woman. This is, she beat the names that she beat to get there, and to lose it to La Rosa Negra in such a close contest. I remember it's like the WWE doesn't learn, man. I remember. You guys are probably too young to remember this, and I don't want to age myself, but when Kerry Von Erich went to the WWE, he was advertised as the Texas Tornado. They didn't call him Kerry Von Erich, and there was a backlash. At least in the South where I'm from, there was a backlash about that. Like I remember distinctively people saying they're not. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being called the Texas Tornado. Now, eventually, I think they started calling him Kerry Von Erich, but initially it was like, the Texas Tornado is like, we don't know that this is a former NWA World Champion, the one of the mainstays of the great Von Erich dynasty and World Class Championship Wrestling. Like, who are you? Do you think you're fooling? And that was a time when the world wasn't smart, when kayfabe was a real thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just crazy. They just don't learn. And I think you nailed it, Will. They don't. They're so uninformed and so like. Just numb and ignorant to the pulses out there. They could be so much better. If they just said, we're bringing in these great talents. And now it's like AEW, so-and-so is now all elite. Elayna Black is now NXT. Priscilla Kelly is now NXT. Lacey Ryan is now NXT. There's nothing wrong with that. It's
treat them like they're actual athletes in a real sport. Like what you would do if, LeBron James just suddenly signed again with the Cleveland Cavs or whoever, you know what I mean? You would announce that shit and you would say it's LeBron James because he's awesome. And like,
anyway. You just debut him as Jeremy Basketball.
LeVon James, just
like if the XFL started back up, would Vince McMahon legitimately take somebody like, I don't know, Tom Brady signs with the XFL, he like leaves the NFL and he goes to the XFL? Would they legitimately be like, this is Bill Teddy and he's quarterback for one of our teams?
No, it would be more. It'd be more cartoony. It would be like Billy Football, Billy Touchdown. Just something stupid.
Yeah. But I mean, you mentioned like
John Strongarm.
The more I think about this, like the more enraged I get, man, because I'm thinking like, Nick Allison, I pray that he never leaves the NWA. I pray he's champion for 3,000 more days, and God willing, he will be. But if he were to get that shot at that big money, they would most definitely look at him and they probably would try to change his name. They probably would.
They would.
Like, how do you do that to the greatest wrestler in the world? Now. And I'm getting mad at something over something that ain't even happened, man. Y'all making me mad over something that ain't even happened.
But you're educated enough to know that it would happen.
Yeah.
So
because all they
have the right to be angry
is they'd be like, oh, hey, here's a 6'5", 6'6", I don't know. Sorry, Nick. Whatever, tall guy with a good build, looks great. Let's use him. And we'll call him
they'd be like,
Bill Loomis. He's Dexter Loomis's brother.
They'd be like, "Oh, you're British. Ringo McCartney is your name." It's like, come on, guys. Oh,
They call him General Benedict Cornwallis or some junk like that, or some stuff like that, man. You know,
he'd be a redcoat.
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
Jimmy Redcoat.
I like it.
Jimmy, Big Jimmy Redcoat.
Somebody took out Dexter Loomis. Who could it be? We just signed on Jonathan Holmes to figure it out. Detective. He's a British detective.
Well, listen, and this is, and I know we're running up against time, but this is such an interesting conversation because I do think there are some name changes that have been improvements. Now, I don't know if it was people that had quite the clout of the ladies that we're talking about in this discussion, but I mean, you know, you look at a Finn Balor, which is a pretty badass name compared to Fergal Devitt or Prince Devitt, you know. Which
a name that works better over here than Fergal Devitt. It really
That's
does.
what I'm saying. And then, I mean, you've got the, you know, throughout the 90s and 2000s, I mean, you've got guys that came over. I mean, Razor Ramon to Scott Hall, which was, you know, you know him now more as Scott Hall just because of his time in the NWO, but you know, stuff like that. So I mean, you know, and a lot of those were for legal reasons, right? I mean, obviously WWF owned Razor Ramon, so he couldn't just come over and be Razor Ramon. I get that, but when you're talking about these ladies who have been on the independent circuit, you know, nobody owns that name. So yeah, why would you not want to build on the reputation that they've, you know, built for themselves? And even if you can't own the name and own the trademark and the rights and all that, to your point, Rob, isn't it a better business decision to cash in on the popularity that these ladies have already gained on the independent circuit and have them debut and bring that whole audience?
Those name changes you mentioned. Yeah, absolutely, man. And you think like with Razor Ramon and Scott Hall, you even have like a, you know, those are like, you have character transformations that occur where they're actually taking on new personas and stuff like that. And some of that's okay. And I'm not as you know, as a perfunctory like premise, I don't think that name changes in and of themselves are bad. They can serve a purpose. And sometimes the talent is behind that. But in this case, it's like, you know, you got women that probably aren't big enough on the mainstream stage to be able to like be interested in a character change, and they don't. The names seem like innocuous enough to where we're not assuming new personas altogether. And these are women that for intelligent fans are highly respected. Though they might not have like SmackDown, Raw, mainstream, you know, every living room knowledge and all that stuff, but but intelligent wrestling fans, every person in our chat right now knows these women. They know them. Every single person in our chat right now has watched these women. They all know them by their name and the heart and the accolades that they've earned, the hard work that they've put in, the time that they've served. They should be able to come in under their name, and it's worth the WWE they're missing out on an opportunity. Are they violating the Constitution? No. Are they breaking the law? No. Is it unethical? No. Do they have the right to? Yes, they do. Is it in good taste? No, it's not. It's in very, very poor taste, and it's an insult.
Yeah, it's just disappointing because when you live in a world where you're trying to build characters, you know, and you see like you're obviously trying to create a new story for each person, you know, like Sam Shaw, who obviously has his own history in working for Tried and True Pro Wrestling as a heavyweight champion there and all of that stuff. That he comes into NXT's Dexter Loomis. So finally, Tried and True is smaller in the scheme of things, I'm sure, than any of these other companies we're talking about right now. But it's like with Nick Aldis, like, why would you just not already incorporate again? Like Rob said, we're talking about something that hasn't actually happened again, just pretending, just getting pissed off. Like
we're so mad about it. We're so mad about
how they.
I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they did that.
Oh, why would you not mention he's the former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion? Why would you not use that? He held that thing for over 800 days. Why would you not bring him in?
Essentially, they have done it. They have done that with Adam Pearce. They've done it. If they did it with him, they would certainly do it with this one. Adam Pearce is one of the great NWA champions of all time. No mention of it. Or did they mention it? Have they mentioned it?
I don't know that they ever mentioned it. No,
they posted photos on social media of him with the title, but
okay.
Or they might have retweeted him. I don't think they actively made any effort to point out that he was, a great NWA
if I were
champion.
Vince or Triple H, I'd get on the phone with Billy Corgan right now. I'd say, hey, look, my man, I'm gonna slap you a couple mil. It ain't no big deal. Do you mind us saying that we're putting Adam Pearce, one of your great champions of all time, in this match? It's good for you. It's good for us. Are you cool with it? That's what I would do.
Maybe that's why we're not millionaires.
It's true.
Because maybe nobody that's a millionaire actually says, "Hey, man, I'm gonna slap you a couple mil." you just make this thing happen.
Let's do it. Let's make this
Billy Corgan, you're now called William Pumpkin. I'm just going down the rabbit hole of renaming people their cartoon names. So
oh my god. Well, tonight on NXT, you've got the thing continues. The thing continues on NXT. Now I'm just getting silly. I'm sorry. I don't remember. I lost the NXT preview, so I apologize. I don't know what the hell I did with it. Grand Metalik and Lindsay Dorado, they're taking on somebody, and yeah. The big match tonight on NXT is that Tommaso Ciampa and Thatcher are taking on each other in that fight pit thing, which sounds kind of cool. I'm interested to see what that is. That's the draw for NXT tonight. But really, what people care about now, because we're just pissed off at WWE, is AEW Dynamite. Peter Avalon is taking on Cody Rhodes. Peter Avalon, who, by the way, whose name has been Peter Avalon, and he's been from the United Wrestling Network. He's been the Arizona State Champion. He's been the Hollywood Heritage Champion, and his name was Peter Avalon during all of that. And Pretty Peter Avalon, no less, which is his name now on AEW, even though they tried to bring him in as the librarian. They have finally moved him back to Pretty Peter Avalon. And he's taking on Cody Rhodes. Penelope Ford taking on Layla Hirsch. Chris Jericho and MJF are taking on Santana and Ortiz, and Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager to find out who is the official tag team of the Inner Circle. Did anybody else I got the joke when Jericho made it last week where Sammy's like, well, I'm taking Jake and we're going to be a tag team and we're going to be the best tag team in the Inner Circle. Sammy and Hager. And Jericho's like, Sammy Hager? Really? And he's like, what? And he's like, never mind. And, anyway, so that's an old person joke for you kids at home. Sammy Hager.
I'm sure our crowd understands that. We are all mature here.
Hangman Page, Colt Cabana, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds versus the Hybrid 2 and Chaos Project. The Hybrid 2 have grown on me. I'm starting to like them. I'm starting to like that stupid freaking dance that they do when they come in. And Page will be answering if he's joining the Dark Order. And in the last week, I have determined I want Hangman Page to just join the Dark Order. Like, I just want him to.
Yeah.
And I just think it'd be fun. And they'll be like his, like he could be like a dark cowboy group or something, maybe. The Dark Order will just be like his band of misfits. Like magnificent.
The River Bottom Nightmare Band.
Yeah, there you go. It'll be like the Magnificent Seven. They'll just roll into town and take care of business.
River Bottom Nightmare Revival.
There you go. Top Flight and Matt Sydal are taking on Matt Hardy and Private Party. Miro is giving an update on his new butler, Chuck Taylor. John Moxley's in action. means he's going to be whipping somebody's ass because they didn't announce anything. Sting is going to have a moment with AEW. It says Sting to congratulate AEW TNT champion Darby Allin and AEW World Champion Kenny Omega is going to reflect on his dominance. So that's all coming up here.
I do that every morning.
If you got a second, I'll show you this because I went out of the way that I did want to say the AEW has been really great about these things, and I want to give them props for it. So we'll mention it for just a second if I could.
You got 1 minute before they.
All right, 1 minute. Here's the tag team rankings. If there's anything that stands out, please say so now.
Well, I mean, if you're 0-0, not sure.
That's weird. Yeah, they're not. Oh, wait. So they're giving their singles overall person. But then the tag team, well, the Young Bucks have not participated as singles, I suppose. You see what I'm saying?
No, they haven't fought in 2021. This is their 2021 record. I guess this is where they landed at the end of 2020. And this is
look like look at the Jurassic Express right up here at number.
Oh, they're going overall. They're looking at overall.
Jungle Boy is 33-22-1. Luchasaurus is 35-13.
This is
but
just
as a tag team in 2021, they are 1-0.
Okay.
Dark Order's undefeated or not had a match yet. Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, but Evil Uno is 23-9. Stu Grayson's 25-7.
Well, I don't think that you entered, like January the 1st came and it was like a vacuum. You're going to presuppose some of the stuff from 2020 coming into this, and we've only got 20 days into this to build up a win-loss record. So these rankings obviously presuppose 2020, and I don't find that problematic. I mean, FTR has only been in one match in 2021, but they, even though the Acclaimed have been in 2 matches, you're not going to tell me in any way, shape, or form that they earn the right to be the number 1 contender, or the number 1 ranked team after the resume that FTR built in 2020.
Did you see?
That's what I'm saying. I think it's just misleading that they're showing the 2021 record. Like, you know what I mean?
Did either of you guys? I don't want to go down a whole other rabbit hole here, but did either of you guys watch Ring of Honor this week yet?
I have not watched it yet.
Oh my God. You gotta check out this one thing. This is connected. So what they did was they have officially announced that in Ring of Honor, if you are going for a singles title, they have said this. It's like Flip Gordon was in the Pure tournament, right? I'm going to give you a little spoiler for Ring of Honor. So Flip Gordon is in the Pure rankings, and he's competing and working his way up. Or he's still in like number 3, although he lost to Jonathan Gresham at their last show. And Flip takes on Rhett Titus, who is ranked number 5, and they're trying to work that out. Well, Flip ends up winning, but during the match, he punches Rhett Titus in the face. He also doesn't shake his hand before and after. Or he does shake it after, like when Rhett's like down on the mat. Flip. So okay. So what I'm trying to say is they announce in the middle of the show, not unlike MLW. I know I'm like messing with your brains here, but not unlike MLW, they've started doing rankings on the shows. They show you who's in the rankings for the TV title, the Pure title, the tag team titles, and the heavyweight title. And if you are a singles competitor, you can only be in the rankings for one of them. And the company, based on wins and losses, strength of schedule, like who you fought, who you've beaten, or whatever, they decide where to put you. You can choose to try to move to a different ranking system, and you can submit a petition to do so, but that's when they'll consider it. So if you're in the TV championship rankings, they've got them, but you're only in the TV championship rankings. You can also be in a tag team or 6-man tag team rankings, but you can't go into another singles rankings. And so Flip Gordon, he gets in trouble and gets suspended from the Pure rankings because he refuses to do the handshake. He punches, and ROH management decides that you're not being respectful of the Pure rules, so you are suspended from the Pure tournament. So his storyline right now is he's going to petition for the TV or the world title. And so he's moving to one of those. And anyway, I just thought it was interesting. It's like a really weird thing. They're taking this thing even like a step further than it seems like AEW is. Like they're going into some. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that. I just thought that was interesting.
I mean, that's cool. I like that. I like when things are like specific and there's actually rules that they're at least trying to make them make sense. So I have it. I need to watch it to get the full, effect.
Yeah, I probably, as we've been sitting here and I've been sipping whiskey and like talking to you guys, I know I'm probably like.
I got one eye on Dynamite over here, so I'm trying to. I was like half listening.
All right.
I think the Pure concept is one of the best things going, and I think this is paving the way for the foundation to be one of the great heel factions in wrestling currently. We're not there yet, but my prediction is that it's going to happen. They're going to be the morality police.
Well, you get it with Ring of Honor this week. Rhett Titus talking about it. He's pissed off that like Flip Gordon during their match didn't shake hands with Jonathan Gresham. He's like, you're gonna shake my hand, or I'm gonna beat the respect into you that you shake my hand. And he's like, this is what we're built on. He's like, even people that hate each other shake each other's hands in the middle of this ring, and then we wrestle and we find out who the better man is, and blah, blah, blah. And so they've got a really good build up to it. And it's just, and by the end, like I said, I mean, they take the Pure segment of the show very seriously. And it's like, if you're not going to compete based on these rules, you gotta figure something else out.
And I like the rules. I mean, I think in principle, that's kind of part of prize fighting. I mean, you see it like when Nick Aldis is wrestling Jason Stripe, and I wish we'd have gotten to that tonight, but how every time Nick Aldis wrestles, the referee is in the middle giving out instructions, like verbal instructions. Do you understand? Do you understand? And it's like it's a throwback to prize fighting is what it is. But the foundation are fanatics about it, and and it's almost like, and maybe it's reflective of like some of the trends going on in the broader culture and all that. It's almost like, when you hear them talk, when they cut their promos, there's a dark overtone. There's almost a fascism about it, where they're going to drown the opposition and suffocate people under the jot and tittle of the law. They're being Pharisees, in other words. And I think it has the makings of a great heel faction, and I think that's what's going to come to pass. And I think like you're saying, Gary, we already see that starting to materialize.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, we know you guys have AEW Dynamite to jump to, and of course NXT is on as well. We hope you guys have a good Wednesday, or a good wrestling Wednesday, and we'll see you back here on Sunday night when we hang out once again. Of course, we're always available on all of the social medias at Hans Will, at This Is Dr. Stinson, at This Is Gary Hornet, and the show is at TIPW Show. Thank you, everybody who did hang out with us. Dr. Red, Rock Says, Jedi, Willie, Robert Stinson, whoever that guy is, Mongrovian Mike, all of you. Paladin, thanks for showing up, buddy. And just thanks again. 90s Wrestling Podcast. Good to see you. You guys take care. And until next time,